I was working at Abercrombie Kids, so this is when Abercrombie Kids had a.
What are you, a pedophile?
Oh my god! I just put it up on a platter. If they're catering to skinny people, don't shop there. If you're going on an airplane and you can't fit in the chairs, like, don't blame the whole populace because they're just not your size, and now you're asking for double the seats.
Obesity, health, where we're heading. I think our population is slowly getting killed, and I think it's through the food that we are eating, and I think and the drugs that we are taking. 1 out of 8 people in the world were living with obesity, and in the West it's been worse, right? Worldwide, adult obesity has more than doubled since 1990, and adolescent obesity, which when we were kids was not really a thing, has quadrupled. Obesity is an epidemic. It is killing us.
Welcome back, everybody, to the DC Talks podcast with the main man, David Chinelli. Woo-woo. Back in the DC headquarters, baby. I love your outfit, man. It's so clean.
Thanks, buddy.
It's so clean, man. I can't stop looking at that.
I was just saying, we were walking in Vaughan Mills and we went into
Abercrombie and Fitch.
I went out, like, there's an Abercrombie. I'm like,
I
bought Abercrombie for all. I walked in, like, they had some nice.
They've rebranded.
We're going on vacation for a 5-day vacation.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. I don't want to tell people where we're at, but anyway, we're gonna go, and it's gonna be hot. I hate going to
warm, hot destinations.
Yeah,
it's like you get lucky.
But honestly, we were going to go to New York and it was going to be double the price to take a road trip. So that's with points and stuff like that too. We got it for like dirt cheap. We're like, for 5 days, let's just go. Right.
Yeah.
And I walked up, but I'm going to sweat my balls. I'm Italian. I sweat.
You sweat a lot profusely.
Oh my God. Like literally. Like,
do you have like big pores or something? Like your sweating pores?
I don't know. Well, we were up, the other day, went for a cigar in the back.
Yeah.
And I was wearing my thin linen pants. They're the gray ones. I've seen them before. And I had a black t-shirt on. I was up for about an hour and a bit. And you know how humid it was out? It was like on a Wednesday. I came and it looked like I peed my pants. I was completely soaked. And Natalie's like, did you pee your pants? I said, no. She felt my shirt. It was all soaked and it leaked all into my pants.
Damp.
And that was an hour. I could just imagine we're in the Caribbean.
So was it like, you know, when we did our cigar pod and you know how we're sweating buckets?
Yeah.
So was it worse?
It was even worse than that.
Damn.
And I was in the covered cabana.
In the cabana, gazebo, whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was gross. And I was drinking water and everything. Oh,
so you had to take a shower and everything.
Oh, I did. I literally walked in and took a cold shower. And coldish.
And also you're smoking a cigar too. So like when you're under heat and then heat again,
I guess.
It's just like a double whammy.
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, if you go to Abercrombie, they're making a resurgence. So it's like some of the stuff has been fitting good. It's like,
You know, I used to work at Abercrombie back in the day.
Did you have to show your abs and shit?
I was working at Abercrombie Kids. So this is when Abercrombie Kids had a.
What are you, a pedophile?
Oh my god!
Sorry, I had to. You can't. I just put it up on a platter. Yo. So man. But Abercrombie, before you get into do you remember back in the day, they got into huge trouble afterwards, like, you know, because they're exploiting
fat shaming.
Well, fat shaming, but they're also like, they would grade people on a scale from A, B, C, and D. And if the head person come in, they had to be like body type, look and stuff. And remember, guys used to always be shirt off.
Yeah.
They got so many lawsuits against them because of that.
I have no problem.
I appreciate that.
I have no problem with that, right? If they're a private owned business and they're gonna do their own thing, let them be a private owned business. Yeah. If they're catering to skinny people, don't shop there. Why? And this is the whole thing with inclusivity that really grinds my gears. It's just like, if not everyone has to be catered towards you, bro. If you're going on an airplane and you can't fit in the chairs, like, don't blame the whole populace because they're just not your size, and now you're asking for double the seats.
I get it.
Right?
Well, this leads into our topic today.
The
obesity, health, where we're heading, why we're heading here. So Owen had a conversation. He was asking if we were going to talk about the US politics. And I was like, you're like, nah. And I said, no, I'll be honest. I'm not American. So I'm not as entrenched. I'm not as involved. I'm more concerned about the Canadian politics in America. And I don't know enough about it. And I'll be honest. That's what we're saying too. Like, you know, Natalie and I will argue about between Biden, Trump, and
so you know your lane,
Kamala, and all that kind of crap. And it's like, I have my opinion, but like at the end of the day, we don't have a horse in the race. So, but I said, but this one, as men, we do. And as people, like, I think our population is slowly getting killed. And I think it's through the food that we are eating. And I think and the drugs that we are taking. And if you don't know the statistics, let me just throw one statistic about obesity. We just talked
throw
about that.
the statistic up, man.
Yeah. This is a study done in 2022. 1 out of 8 people in the world were living with obesity. And in the West, it's been worse, right? Worldwide, adult obesity has more than doubled since 1990. And adolescent obesity, which when we were kids was not really a thing, has quadrupled in 2022. So 2022.
So kids, they're not even living that long and they're fat already.
2.5 billion adults 18 years and older were overweight. Of these, 890 million were living with obesity as of March 2024. Obesity is an epidemic. It is killing us. Where did it stem from? Years, we talked about this. It's been doubling. It's getting worse. So there are many theories about why it's happening. We have more of a sedentary lifestyle. You know, we're not getting up. We're not working in the fields. But then again, we're also talking about obesity. Let's be honest. Like, let's talk in the 40s and the 50s when there was a traditional family. The mom would stay home. She would cook with lots of lard. Right? She'd be working, like walking or cleaning and stuff there too. Lots of lard, lots of sugar. And no one was dying of or no one was obese. Look at, have you seen those pictures on Instagram saying, look at the 1940s. Not a single fat person on the beach.
No one.
Now, it's everybody's fat and you have to look for the skinny person. Things have changed. So if it's not lard, and that's back in, I think it was the 80s where they had there was an attack on fat and and they're removing fat from our diets. And then they're injecting sugar into the diets instead to make the same flavor. So you can get fat-free yogurt, but they have to remove the fat to put in something else. And it's not just sugar. It's not natural sugar. It's all these other additives to fat-free. But they're also injecting homogenized oils, seed oils.
Yeah.
That is a huge issue.
Yeah.
Huge issue. Well, first, let's go even further back. Like oils, like for example, canola oil. Do you know what canola oil was used for in the Second World War?
What was
Isaac's in the back saying,
you know what it was?
I've done a lot of research on oils, specifically palm oil,
canola oil. So in the Second World War, they needed to oil their tanks and their machinery. So they went, and there was the Canadians. So like we had in the prairies, have tons of spots in order for us to produce the crops and, you know, to produce the oils. And so they were producing massive amounts of oil, this canola, palm oil, all this oil. And it was used, and it was not edible by the human body. It just wasn't. But they didn't care because they didn't need it for that.
Yeah.
When the war was done, they had all these crops. What do we do now? What do we do? So if you ever watched, Isaac, have you watched the process, how it gets from like crop into quote unquote edible form? It is disgusting. They heat up the oils. There's free radicals that happen in there. They turn into like this mush and like this powdered stuff. And it goes through such a refining process over and over again to make it quote unquote edible. It's never was meant to be consumed by the human body. And they never did testing on it. Right? But the Canadian government, everyone, they needed to help the farmers and figure out what to do with these crops because through the World War, they needed these crops. They needed to make money because, of course, the government needs their taxes. So if the farmers are broke, they can't pay taxes, you know, and to keep everybody happy. So they made it edible. And then they started injecting shit into every form of our food groups. That's why processed foods are very lethal, because they started injecting these oils in because now they realize, well, there's a preservative. Well, why is it a preservative? Right? In my opinion, this is not research, this is my conjecture. It's basically killing the food is what it's doing, and it's leaving dead on your, and that's why it's able to sit on your shelf life for much longer. There's no way bread should be able to last as long as it does for months on end. It's impossible. Like if you actually got the wheat, made it yourself, and baked a piece of bread, it should go moldy in a week.
I've been making my own bread since I found out about palm oil and canola oil for the last 4 months. Bread lasts no longer than a week.
No longer. That's it. So Isaac, if you didn't heard that on the side, so Isaac, he does our videos and audio. He was just saying, since he learned about this palm and canola oil, he's been making his own bread. And he just said exactly what I just said. It doesn't last longer than a week. My nana used to bake her own bread, and she used to freeze it after a couple of days, and we'd take it out, put it in the oven, kind of. First of all, the bread is amazing. My stomach doesn't hurt. I don't know about you guys. I can't ingest regular bread, pastas, all this stuff. When I eat it, I get this that feels like a knot in your stomach. You feel it too. And then I go to bed and I'm like, I'm burping. I have to take tons of Tums.
Acidic.
It's so acidic-y. It makes you feel lethargic. It makes you feel tired. And I feel the same thing with processed food, but I'm just picking on pastas and breads because I feel like shit.
One thing, sorry, I know I'm cutting in a lot, but I've been doing all the research. But one thing, a dentist actually was talking about how people get cavities and they think it's from candy. It's not from candy. It's from carbs, like the carbs that you eat.
That's right.
Bread, all that. The processed bread has more sugar.
That's right.
Than all the other things that we're eating. That's stuck in your teeth.
So also with breads. So Isaac also said too. So if you can't hear him online, he's talking about a dentist. It's like not the sugars that's causing us to have cavities. It's the carbohydrates we're eating. And I agree with that. I've heard that. I read that too. So also the way that we're producing bread over here to give it a health. My cousin was telling me about this too. In Italy, they still take our wheat. And they take it, they grind over it because they love our wheat. And they're like, and if you ever go to Italy and eat the bread or the pizza there, you feel fantastic. You feel light. But here they remove all the stuff that makes the bread die quicker, mold quicker, and they inject it with shit. And that's why the other day I went into I was making kids. I make a lot of food for the kids. I was making burgers and I was like, oh, do we have any burger buns? I pulled out burger buns that were 3 or 4 months old. They looked
from the freezer.
Pristine. No. In the bread box.
Oh.
And they're in pristine condition. I'm like, I'm not eating that shit. It looks like plastic.
Yeah.
Like, how does bread last 3-4 months? No mold, nothing on it. And I'm like, I'm just shaking my head. So there has to be a correlation. And if you don't think there's a correlation between the sugar, and they're adding sugars in there to help preserve it too. But it's like, there's all this shit that they're adding into our food that it just doesn't make sense. Do yourself a favor. Next time you go to the bread aisle, see what's actually in the ingredients.
Bread is supposed to have 4 ingredients.
Bread is supposed to have 4 ingredients. Yeah. Have you ever tried Ezekiel bread?
I want to add one thing.
Yeah.
That's my last thing I had. I used to work for a food delivery service, so I delivered all the foods to restaurants that they used to cook. Canola. This company would order skids of oils to deliver to these companies. Canola oil, we'd order 5 skids. Vegetable oil, we'd order 1.
Yeah.
All the restaurants, pizza stores, mainly, their main oil that they use is canola oil, and that's the worst thing. One of the worst things other than palm oil they use.
So Isaac was just mentioning here too. So if you can't hear him online, he used to work for a food distribution company, and when he used to deliver to the pizza places, and that was one of the big distributors, they would have 5 skids of canola oil, which is terrible for your body. And that is their main source of which they cook your pizza. So if you ever have a commercial pizza and you feel like shit afterwards, it's the oil. And it's the bread too, because what they're putting into that dough is also fakes, right? So they're removing all the ingredients. They're adding additives so it lasts a longer life. And then your vegetable oil, you're saying, was 1 skid out of the 5. So 5 to 1. Vegetable oils isn't the best for you. The best oil we should get back to natural oils. We should be cooking with a lot of butter, olive oil, especially for salads, things like that. Coconut oil. Coconut oil is actually supposed to be fantastic for you.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard about the pulling where you pull on your teeth, in which for 20 minutes you grab some coconut oil, you put it in your mouth and you swish it around? It's supposed to take toxins out of your mouth. And it's it's supposed to be great. So you swish it for 20 minutes. You can't talk. I know that's going to be hard for you.
I'm catching strays from talking about coconut oil.
So, but for 20 minutes, after 20 minutes, you swish it in your mouth. And they call it pulling. And it's supposed to take toxins out of your mouth. Yeah. And it's supposed to, so that which will leach into your body. So there's all that stuff too. So
even on the skin too, I heard coconut oil, you can even use it on the skin. Yeah. On your hair too.
Yeah. So, well, one of the worst things you put on your skin is sunscreen. You know that, right?
I've been trying to tell people this.
Dude, why did you not listen to us?
They're like, you need sunscreen. I'm like, no, you do. You're DC. These people back in the days when we were working in farms and whatever, did we use sunscreen?
No,
we didn't.
No.
You know why? Because the sun.
And I'm Italian too. We barely. I think
sun is
a bottle of
amazing
sunscreen would last us free. I don't remember my mom ever sunscreening us up, and we were just not going in the sun that long. And especially, I remember going to Florida. My brother, who's the whitest out of the 3 of us, my oldest brother,
looks white.
So we got darker as we got younger. My oldest brother, Frankie's blondish hair, green eyes, lighter skin. Mike is a little bit darker, like blue eyes, and I'm the dark of the dark, right? But I remember going to Florida, and Frank got blisters because he was in the sun too much.
Yeah.
Like, but that tells you we weren't wearing sunscreen. I still remember those days. It wasn't a thing, right? It was, or at least to a less degree. And now they have the aerosol spray, so it gets into your skin more. If you do your own research on this stuff too, like there's more natural sunscreens if you want to do it, or block or things like that. But be careful what you put in your skin, because your skin absorbs everything you put on it. So even some of the healthcare stuff too, like look at the ingredients. I want to start maybe getting into maybe beef tallow for my face, because I want to start, I have a skincare routine, which now they gave me, which is a lot of oils and things like that. And I think they're more natural, but I'm also a culprit of this. I have not read all the ingredients, and it's working, but it's like, but what's leaching into my body? So we have to be very careful what we're putting into our bodies, especially as men. I'm 46 years old. I've had health scares. I've had early brain issues. My dad died from heart disease. My grandfather of 72. My grandfather dies of 45. Open heart surgery for a couple of heart attacks from one uncle. The other side has had valves replaced. Heart issues are a big, big, big issue. But I want to know what's leading to this. Is it the cholesterol? Because now my doctor for preventative care has me on a statin. Yeah. And I've been for 2 years. I don't really see that much. And I'm trying to push back. I started eating more red meat and more butter. And he's like, oh, no, you should stay away from that. I'm like, well, no, like other studies say the opposite, because I'm really careful. I'm really interested to see what goes into my body and how it changes my levels, because I get my blood taken every 3 to 4 months and they check the levels. That's what I pay them for. But I'm kind of now going through all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know if I believe pharma anymore. They were wrong on so many other occasions before. So why am I taking a statin? They're like, well, it's supposed to bring down your cholesterol. Well, what about the side effects? Like, I'm already worried. We're talking about obesity, things about oils and things like that in our body. But yet I'm taking a statin, which I don't really know that much. And I'm taking it for preventative care. Yeah. So do you know what a statin is supposed to do? No. So a statin is supposed to reduce, let me see if I actually have here. Statins are supposed to reduce the cholesterol in your body. And there was a study published in so that's what it's supposed to be for healthcare. And anytime you have like the LDLs, your bad cholesterol, the first thing to do is they prescribe you a pill. They should be looking at your diet and exercise. But I'm, me, I work out every day. I've physically gone smaller, bigger some spots, more muscle. But my lean muscle mass has gone up. So all my numbers gone up. My testosterone, all that kind of stuff is working. But my LDL it was low when I was taking the statin. But I was not eating red meat, right? And I was eating more fish and stuff. But I did find some issues in my head. Like I was forgetting things. And I thought that was because of the brain issue. But one of the things that there's some studies coming out is like, that your brain is made up of 80% cholesterol. Did you know really? 80% cholesterol. Yeah. Your brain. What do you think? So breast milk is also like 80-90% breast milk. And that's when your baby's brain is forming. That's why breast milk is like mostly cholesterol. Cholesterol is supposed to help you. Cholesterol helps you with your testosterone reproduction. Testosterone helps you with your brain. So there's a study saying, if you get rid of the issue we're having with Alzheimer's, it's a physician created disease. Alzheimer's. So you just don't like 40 years ago, they never had a word for Alzheimer's. There's a video I sent you today. You could probably play it on the video when we're going through. And his claim, not my claim, his claim is that because of all these things we've done in our diet, including the statins, we've reduced our cholesterol because they've made a correlation, which is actually faulty. This correlation between what you eat and cholesterol and heart attacks doesn't make sense. The reason why it doesn't make sense was that when the study came out, when they said the correlation, there was a study done with a whole bunch of countries. And the doctor picked it and choose because there were some countries that had low levels of fat and they were fine, right? But there's other countries that had high levels of fat, like I think it was Norway and Sweden. They were eating like tons of fat and stuff too. And their heart attacks were lower. And then there was other countries where they ate no fat and more carbs and their heart attacks were up. But he removed those ones and he only paid attention to the ones that went with his correlation. So I went with his theory. So the theory behind it is that, fat is killing you, giving you heart attacks. So what we've had in the Western world, reduce fat, low fat this, low fat that, remove skin off of your chicken, right? Only eat the white chicken, right? Remove butter from your diet, right? Remove olive oil, all this stuff too. And that started happening. And now they're seeing Alzheimer's go up. So the idea behind it is because your brain is made up of all this cholesterol.
Yeah.
You reduce the amount of cholesterol. The nerve endings are too close to your head, to your skull, and it's causing memory loss and it's causing permanent damage. The fat, because your brain is made up of fat. If you ever cut up somebody's skull, the brain will follow. It doesn't look the way it looks in those pictures. It's actually very slimy and stuff too. Like it moves all over the place because it's like grabbing fat from a steak and just running like when it cooks. It's like, that's what it looks like. It should be falling all over the place. So if you reduce your cholesterol, you're also affecting your memory and also the side effects it has. So there was one study, is this the study I was going to say too, the Journal of American, aimed at shed some additional light on the issue. Researchers looked into data on a statin among 18,446 people ages 65 or older who had taken part in a large randomized trial of aspirin. It's not a statin. The researchers found that over a follow-up period of almost 5 years, people who took statins weren't any more likely than non-users to have dementia. The same was true as there are other changes in cognition, memory, language, execution function, and measures called with psychomotor speed, which measures how quickly someone can process information. They also found no differences between different types of statins. Now, that was one thing. So they're saying it's actually affecting your memory.
Yeah.
The second, there's another study, this one I sent you before, of people that took statins, and how much longer did they live? So they took all these people that are on statins. The average, how much longer people on statins lived compared to the people on non-statins?
What was it?
4 days. 4 fucking days longer. And they had a list of all the possible side effects. So think about it. Now you're on a statin, which I'm still on, which I'm still debating because I'm still worried about my heart. So I don't know. I'm juggling. Do I get rid of it? Do I do testing? What do I do? But now you have to worry about things like testosterone levels going down. So now you have to take testosterone. Now you have to worry about things like erectile dysfunction. So now you got to take another pill from that. What are the side effects on that? Now you got to take maybe more heart medications. And now you got to take something for your brain. Now you got to reduce life fat. Like it just accumulates for 4 days longer in your life cycle. 4 days. Now we understand why doctors prescribe them. And I understand my doctor is prescribing them because this is what he feels is going to help. He's preventative care. And I get that. And I appreciate that. And he brings studies like this, but they're always going to have other studies to refute other people. But follow the money. Who's paying for these? Who's paying for these studies? The problem is we have in this world is that nothing is straightforward. Nothing is as it seems, right? We can go other politics. We can talk about pharma. We can talk about government. We can talk about religion. The one thing I know is I don't believe anything I read anymore. I don't believe authority. I'm always pushing against authority. I've always have done that, but I'm a little more vocal about it now. It's not always in my head.
Yeah. You're bolder.
And so I'm trying to push the envelope a little bit here.
Yeah.
There's some things I'll take. I'm on testosterone. We know that. We said it before. It's testosterone replacement therapy. It just brings elevates my levels just to a normal level. I'm not getting jacked. I'm not doing steroids where I'm crazy amount. Hey, that'd be nice though.
That'd be a good benefit.
But I don't want that. If the reason why steroids don't work is that it hardens your arteries, right? So they get to levels so a man should be, I forget the number scale, but we should be up to optimal levels around the 700, whatever that means, whatever testing is. I'm about the 400 level. When you look at bodybuilders, they're in the thousands. So that can wreak havoc on your heart. So you got to be careful of that too. So did you ever watch that video? I know I'm all over the place here sometimes, but there's a video with Arnold Schwarzenegger did you watch it, Isaac? There was a documentary about, looked at all the Mr. Olympias when Arnold Schwarzenegger was
like when he was prominence and everything. Yeah.
And there's 7 or 8 Olympians. They all ate absolutely clean. They worked out 2 or 3 times a day. These guys were in peak physical shape. The only thing they did, which was different than the regular person walking around, is they took steroids. I think all of them either died or had to have a heart replacement or had heart surgery because of the amount of steroids. So that's why I say like steroids is very different than doing testosterone replacement therapy. I think men over 30 need, because what's happening with our foods are slowly killing us. We got things like GMOs, which are fake foods. We have so many fertilizers and pesticides and things on our foods, which are, in my opinion, designed to help kill us, or not kill us, or at least make us infertile.
And shorten our lifespan.
And then even things like plastics in our lives.
Yeah.
So this is how the topic gets started with Owen and I. There are so many plastics in our lives which are finding its way to the human male reproductive system. Every single male at this point now, they've done tests on their testicles, and we have microbials of plastics in our scrotums and in our testes, which leads to infertility. Like, how? How is that possible? Well, there's a lot of ways. And there's this one doctor, he's like, every time I put it on, he's like, tell me another way not to eat plastic. I'm like, the hell am I going to do? Go put my head in the freaking ocean and just drink water that way? Like, it's almost impossible to get away, because our culture has been designed to make things convenient and easy. So we've introduced plastics because it's cheap to make and easy to store things and to use. What am I talking about? Well, first off, how do you store your food? You take a hot dish, you want to use it for tomorrow. What do you put it in?
A Ziploc container, which is plastic.
Or a Ziploc bag, or just plastic, or a Tupperware. You get a hot food, especially if it's hot, if you put it into the plastic, guess what happens to the plastic?
Does it low-key melt?
It leaches into your food.
Leaches into your food, yeah.
Microbials leach into your food. You don't see it. You might taste it a little bit, but it leaches into your food. So now the idea is like maybe use glassware, right? Okay, fine. You drink water out of your fridge.
Yes.
What is that line made out of?
The line?
Yeah.
The plastic line in the fridge?
Yeah. Do you eat ketchup?
Absolutely.
Do you use Heinz with the plastic squeeze bottle?
I mean, you have to now. I used to like the one you're like,
yeah.
That was.
I'm just giving you examples. So everything you're doing right now, especially if the plastic is heated up or not, has an effect on your body and it's leaching in. Did you know Costco now used to have, the chickens? The rotisserie chickens used to be made, and they used to put them into that black plastic, and they put it under the heat lamp. Well, first off, that heat lamp, you're putting heat on plastic. You're trying to tell me it's not going into the chicken. Now, but at least that one had a BPA number on it too, right?
Yeah.
Have you gone to Costco lately?
No.
They're now replaced those with bags with 0 BPA content on whatsoever. So you have no idea the type of plastic that you're putting in there too. I'm pretty sure as kids too, you probably brought lunch bags, something with plastic in it. Every little thing we're doing in our life is lead to plastics. Do you put skincare on your body?
Yeah, like Vaseline, sometimes lotion.
Vaseline's supposed to be terrible for you, by the way, but that's a different story. Vaseline, sure. Shampoo your hair, all these kinds of things. Plastic bottles. Plastic has become part of our lives, and it is affecting our fertility. It's been crazy how it's affecting. Like, let me just see if I can find.
As you're looking that up too, I wanted to also mention how the pans that we cook.
Oh yes,
there was back in the day Teflon. Remember? Did you watch that movie on Netflix? Right, and how DuPont they had like the Teflon coating on the pan, so it's like nonstick. So when you're using a nonstick pan, it's actually detrimental to your health. And one of my roommates back in 2014, when I was in university, he's talking about how when you're actually cooking on a frying pan and you're chipping away, let's say and the little metal particles that chip away from the pan, it gets into your food. And his theory, and I never did this research, but amuse me here, when those little metals go into your food and then they get into your brain, he was using that as a cause for Alzheimer's. He was saying that that's what causes. So you mix the Teflon, you mix the particles because you're like scratching let's say you cooked a steak and like trying to chip off that fat, and it gets in the oil and you consume that consistently, you're going to get sick.
Yeah, there's so many things of how we're preparing our food, right? How it's done is like, it's huge. what you're putting into matters too. And the types of food we also consume. So now you're talking about Teflon. So we're also finding out we're deficient in iron these days, right? Because in the past we used to make things on iron pans, and iron would get into our system in a natural way. So we need to start getting back to more iron, right? It's funny, like cast iron pans.
Yeah.
I have a cast iron pan, which I haven't treated in a year. I need to treat it because I love cast iron. But then we also talk about, so the foods that you're cooking in there too also matter, right? So there's that one doctor again. I'll figure out. Like, and he's on there, and every time he's on, he's the one who talks about the plastics. And today I watched things about the 12 worst vegetables and fruits to eat, because even Gary Brucka talks about it too. He's like, he doesn't touch most fruits and vegetables because all the pesticides that are in there and how they're preserved, and it's causing so much havoc on our endocrine systems, our nervous system. And he's like, some of the biggest culprits you never think of, like pears, apples, anything with a rind, like anything with that you eat the skin, right? Peaches is a big one, right? Strawberries, blueberries. What are the other ones you're saying? Cherries is a big one too. Don't eat kale. Don't
eat kale.
Kale and collard greens, spinach, things that we were told that were supposed to be good for you. And he's like, these are ones you should never do, like non-organic. And then we talked off air because I was laughing because I have a family member who used to purchase from one of the supermarkets. So he was one of the owners, that his family owns one of the supermarket companies, and he used to buy their produce. And he told me, he goes, Dave, don't waste your money even on organic. I'm like, well, why is that? And he's like, because he's like, I've been to the organic farms. I have another one of my clients too. He says the same thing. He's the one that does all the packaging for them. He's like, when you go to an organic farm, he's like, you are right here. This is the organic farm, but everybody else, all the other farms around them are all spraying the shit out of their crops. And you're trying to tell me that that's not blowing over into the organic crops. He's like, sure, don't kid yourself. They are getting some pesticides because it's blowover. But the other thing is, like, it's not in a controlled environment. In order to have a true organic farm, your soil needs to be different, which it's not, because again, the soil is leaching. So everything, too, contaminated oil or contaminated soils can leach for years and years.
Yeah.
Look what happens when they try to build where a gas station was. They have to go remedy it because the oil's contaminated, right? It's for years. It leaches into the soil. So is the soil. The rainwater we get is all the same, and it's washing things into. And then on top of that, the spring. So even the organics we're getting here in Ontario are not true organic.
Everywhere you turn, you're screwed, because even if you're spraying the sky with chemtrails and everything, and that water comes down, it's getting into the plants, it's getting into the gardens, everything like that.
So as we wrap up here, what do we do? So first off, do your own research when it comes to statins, whether it's right or not for you. Talk to your doctor before you get on there. Look at the side effects, those kinds of things. Second thing is try to stay away from plastics wherever you possibly can. The problem is, though, even cans of Coke and things like that are lined with plastic. Heat them up, cut them up, they're lined with plastic. Most of that kind of stuff is plastics. Try to stay away from any kind of food that has a longer than natural shelf life. If you can, stay to the outside of the grocery stores, or even the frozen sections are better because they don't need preservatives. Try to stay away from those. When you're storing food, don't store them in plastics. If the food is hot, plates, things like that, even cutting boards, things like that, stay to metals if you can. Some sort of metal, some sort of wood, those kinds of things. That's the best way to preserve. And if your food, if you want to spend the money organic, it's better than the non-organic stuff, which you mentioned. But there's some foods we should just not be consuming at all, at all. And I would highly suggest stay away from canola oil, palm oil. Try to cook with things like natural fats. Get grass-fed butter. I got it at Costco, like a regular size, and if you go to like Loblaws, it's like $15. But if you go to Costco, it's $7.99. So my daughter's like, why'd you buy so much butter? I'm like, it's organic, it's grass-fed butter. It's $8. I'm going to load up on this stuff. Try to keep healthy fats, eggs, avocados, red meat, fish, non-farm fish. These are kinds of things we need to do in order to help combat what the world is doing for us, because convenience is killing us.
Wisely said. So much to unpack. We might need to do a part 2 on this, because also there's like an effect of what it's doing to men today. If you look at the man back in the 40s to the man today,
there are no men hardly ever. And the ones that are alpha males stick out.
What is a man?
Here we go.
Here we go, baby. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, hope you learned so much from that. Contribute to the conversation by adding some comments on the YouTube section and also on David's Instagram channel or TikTok channel. If you have something insightful to add or something that could add to the conversation, we'd definitely love to hear from you. We'll definitely see you next week for episode 88. Enjoy the last week of summer. I know it's coming to an end. And coming to the fall season. At least it's cozy season, you know. I love the fall.
Yeah, listen, I like wearing jeans and a t-shirt. My favorite thing to wear.
Jeans and a t-shirt. But at least the fall, you get to bundle up. You look stylish. We get to see more David's fits. My guy. Well, we'll see you next week and talk to you soon. Peace out.
Ciao.